BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Listen, if this episode inspires you, do me a favor, take 5 seconds to shoot me a like and subscribe to the podcast. There are several more exciting guests that are in the pipeline, and I just can't thank you enough for your continued support, and let's keep paying the mission forward.
I've been able to use my mental game to my advantage now and bounce back and use it more as a weapon and stay resilient and find new ways to win matches. As I got older, once you can accept losing after trying your best and that it's okay and it happens to everybody and you're gonna have more chances, then that was the turning point for me mentally.
In today's episode, I have Colorado tennis icon Nathan Gold. He's a high altitude tennis player, 3 state championships, and he's committed to play college tennis at Cornell University. Nathan shares his journey, challenges, training regimen, and the importance of balancing academics with tennis. We also delve into the impact of his family and his advice to inspiring tennis players across the country. Nathan's story is a testament of grit, determination, and I know it will impact you as a listener. Welcome to the BTB Project, designed to empower listeners to identify their why and to live their best lives no matter the circumstances. My name is Kollman Gearhart. A former athlete and motivational coach, I've had the opportunity to inspire thousands through my story and help accomplish what they are built to be. You'll be encouraged by each and every episode, and let's get into it.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living all my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land.
Well, the BTB Project is humbled yet again. As being a Colorado native, it's a rarity in today's day and age to see tennis players come from high altitude. But today I have someone that is not only coming from high altitude, but he's coming with 3 state championships. He's coming with a Division I commitment to college tennis and an unbelievable legacy of family that I appreciate. And I know that his story is going to impact you as a listener. Mr. Nathan Gold, welcome to the BTB Project.
Kollman, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I'm super excited. And I appreciate everything you've done for the tennis community. Excited to be on here.
Awesome, man. Well, you probably don't have much of a voice right now because every image I see of you online is screaming at some tennis tournament because you're winning these heroic points. I would just love for you to start by filling us in on, you've had a lot of moving parts, both being a Kent Denver student and also trying to get recruited. What is the day in the life of Nathan Gold as a senior in high school?
Yeah, this year looks a little bit different. So I'm actually back at Kent for my senior year and I'm doing half online school, half in person. A bit different because last year I was fully online at ICL Academy. And this year has been a little more nonchalant for me because I committed this past summer to Cornell. So super excited about that. And this year I've been playing a lot of the PTT events instead of USTA. I've been fading away from USTA as I get a little bit older and geared closer towards aging out of USTA. So I've been doing the PTTs and I've been training a lot locally. I've been lucky to have some indoor facilities near me that I've been able to train at, traveling, trying to get ready for next year and hopefully be playing some good tennis by the time I go to Ithaca in August.
Awesome, man. Yeah, Ithaca, New York, Cornell University. I mean, what a fantastic accomplishment and bright years ahead for you for college. Let's draw a circle around Colorado tennis because I remember a time and a place where I got fired up about the game of tennis right around 2002, 2003. I'm down at Gates Tennis Center and I'm watching this guy play for a state championship by the name of Chad Harris. And he was competing his tail off. Every point meant something to him. I end up finding out that not only was he the best player in high school tennis at the time, but his story about trying to be an elite tennis player coming from Colorado, the early mornings at Carr Athletic Club, the time commitment, the sacrifice, the bad weather, the altitude. You have so many barriers here. When I say Colorado tennis and junior development, how in the world does Nathan Gold become who he is right now?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, definitely a lot of obstacles in the way of that, the weather being the biggest obstacle. And there's just not a lot of facilities and player development out here compared to Florida or some other places around. So it's definitely difficult. And I was lucky enough to come across some really good coaches to help me out, like Peter Richmond. He helped me out from a young age in my early stages of development. And then, yeah, I've just been super fortunate to come across some good training partners that were older than me. And Drew Eberly at Denver University has helped me significantly and given me people to train with and lots of resources. And I just kind of stuck to it and never gave up.
Ultimately, I've learned that we can create any excuse we want, whether it's on the court or training or what we don't have. And what I find really interesting with you, and I appreciate the shout out to Coach Peter Richmond, because he notices it as well when you're back at these groups and training with a lot of the other kids that are on top of Colorado tennis right now, is that you have a very deep appreciation for the game of tennis. I do recall a time and a place over the years where sometimes people could watch a guy like Nathan Gold play tennis and be like, man, that guy kind of has a little bit of an edge to him or a little bit of an attitude. And I grin and chuckle when I hear that, because ultimately that's sometimes what it takes to be able to compete at the highest level. So when you think of your maturity in this sport and realizing what you're grateful for, walk us through where things have aligned for you right now to prepare for college tennis.
Tennis has been a big part of my life, obviously, since I was super young. My oldest brother played in college at the Division III level, and I always tagged along to tournaments with him, even when I wasn't good enough, which was super helpful for me to see what the highest level looked like. And that's inspired me to keep training every day. A lot of kids at my level don't play high school tennis.
Yeah.
And tennis actually really helped me in a lot of different ways, actually bring the team component into tennis. A lot of players are so used to playing for themselves, and tennis is such a lonely individual sport, as we see on the tour nowadays. It can be super lonely. You're just, even as a junior, just traveling, it can get super lonely. But actually playing high school tennis and creating that balance between doing the high school in the fall and still traveling to tournaments was super helpful for me to learn how to be in a team environment. That's going to help me down the road at Cornell. And yeah, that's helped me a lot and with my development. And yeah, so.
It's amazing that high school tennis meant something to you, because one thing that I've noticed, and I'm about to wrap up year 17 as a high school coach in Colorado, is that the elite players want to step away from high school tennis and focus on UTR and focus on recruiting. And I know that that resonates with you because you did that for a year. But if you had the opportunity to reflect back on the last 4 years, 3 of them being a state champion, 3 of them being with a team and a group of guys and a legacy like Kent Denver, where it was probably bigger than yourself. So as you reflect back and had to give advice for kids that are out there trying to weigh their options of, hey, I got to get my UTR up to get some looks from colleges and the high school experience you had?
I would give them the advice that you don't have to sacrifice your whole high school experience to become an elite tennis player. I know it's not the most popular route right now. A lot of kids are doing online school, and I'm definitely one of the few kids right now playing level ones, or like one of the few top USTA players that actually goes to in-person school, let alone a private school. But I would say if you have the right mindset and you're willing to keep pushing and juggle the academics, and you have that dedication to going out every day and playing tennis and just willing to keep going, then I'd say it's definitely possible. And I've seen a lot of people do it, especially if you want to play Ivy League tennis or at a very rigorous school. You have to have both components. You can't just have the tennis. And yeah, it's very possible. And high school tennis definitely taught me a lot of important lessons that I couldn't have just learned playing juniors. It's fun being in that social team environment. And it's definitely a good route, even if you want to play college tennis. And I don't think you have to make that sacrifice. It just depends.
Yeah, I tell a lot of kids, especially experiencing being a Division I college tennis player myself, that there are often more people that are at a state championship tennis match for high school tennis in Colorado than there were at most of my college matches.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
The environment, especially where you got to hang out until things recently changed down there in Pueblo, Colorado, that was a special place, man. I mean, I spent some time at Regis Jesuit, and when we were 4A, we got to go down there and stay in the slightly creepy hotels and eat the not so great food. But ultimately, like, you get to Saturday and all your buddies are on court and you get things done and get to stand on that wooden podium. I mean, as I say those things to you, was it worth it?
I definitely think it was worth it. And Ken has had such a legacy of tennis. Like you said, it's actually much bigger than me. We've had some unbelievable players come through Ken Denver. And in hindsight, I wouldn't regret any of it, actually. I really enjoyed every match I played. And being undefeated and winning the 3 titles as a team and individually was just awesome. And being able to do that in front of my community and my best friends and my teachers and my family was just awesome. And, you know, sometimes when you're going to play Intermountain tournaments in Las Vegas or Utah, people don't always know exactly what you're up to. Yeah. But when I was doing it at Kent, people could come watch and people could see firsthand experience high level tennis. And it was cool to share that with my community and just do that so close to home. So it was special for sure.
And obviously you mentioned earlier, you come from a lineage of your older brother playing college tennis, and got another brother that likes to shoot some hoops and spend time in other countries. I mean, yeah, it's a huge influence that you have around you. And me being a younger brother myself, I'd love for you to share with the listeners about the impact of Gold Boys, because ultimately you probably carry not just your competitive spirit, but their competitive spirits each and every match you play.
Definitely. My enthusiasm and my intensity and how loud I am on the court definitely comes from my older brothers and just competing with them on a daily basis when I was younger. And they taught me from a young age just how to compete. When I was younger, we used to play basketball in my backyard or just tennis, and they'd literally make me cry because we were just competing so hard. And that sort of competitive spirit definitely carried over to the tennis court. And it's definitely played a huge role in my tennis identity. And, you know, yeah, I'd like to consider myself a fighter and finding ways to win. And growing up with them, I always had to find new strategies or unique ways to win games against them because they were 7 and 9 years older than me and they were just bigger and stronger. So I always had to find ways to compete with them when I was just so little. And that definitely, it helps me on the tennis court and also didn't help me on the tennis court because it's good to be emotional in tennis, but towards the beginning of my career in the 12s and 14s, I was a very emotional player and sometimes my emotions did get the best of me. And luckily today I've worked on that a lot with my coaches. I'm able to use it to my advantage. Definitely a big part of my career. That's competitive spirit and that mental game. Huge part of my game.
I appreciate your vulnerability to call yourself out of, hey, here's where I was mentally and here's where I'm at now. I'd love for you to think of a moment, and it was 12s or 14s or even more recently, where you had kind of a match or a practice or a life circumstance to where you were able to take a deep breath and then reflect back and be like, in order for me to get to the level that I want to get to, it's not about suppressing the drive and the determination you have. Because some people think that like tennis etiquette, you got to be quiet, like you're at the Masters or something playing golf, but ultimately channel it in a way that's maybe more positive than negative. Do you have a moment that comes to mind where you broke through mentally?
For sure. There's a few moments that come to mind. One specific moment, I believe it was the 12 and unders at summer section. I was actually at Gates Tennis Center, a facility that you've probably played at many times. So I was playing, all of the Intermountain kids were there and it was the finals. And I remember I was up 5-2 in the second set and I had numerous match points, ended up losing those match points. And I actually ended up losing the match in the third set, was up a set and 5-2. It was 40-love actually. And as soon as I had gotten broken at that 5-2 game in the second set, I was 12 years old. I literally couldn't keep going. I was just so defeated emotionally and mentally. And from then on, I knew that this was like one of the biggest weaknesses in my game. And I had just began to include that in my everyday training. Instead of being on the court for a few hours, I would then start to work on my mental game with my coach or brainstorm some strategies of walking to the fence, touching my racket to the fence, or looking at my strings after a point to forget about that previous point and just, you have to move on. So that was a moment that resonated with me. And then, another moment is I've learned, one of my coaches, Mitch Stewart, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mitch Stewart, but he taught me all you can do is just give your best effort every match, and that's the best you can do. And as I got older and played hundreds more matches, I to accept losing. And once you can accept losing after trying your best, that it's okay and it happens to everybody and you're going to have more chances, then that was the turning point for me mentally. And I played at PTT a few weeks ago in Newport Beach. And a lot of times I lose the first set against some guys who are much better than me. I played a 13 UTR, lost the first set like 6-3, and then later in the tournament I played a 12-5 UTR. And then the second set I was able to win in both of those matches, and I've been able to use my mental game to my advantage now and bounce back and use it more as a weapon in a sense and stay resilient and find new ways to win matches.
I love your recognition of a particular point of a particular match where you had the stars align, and that just shows how far you've come, because a lot of people are always searching for answers, especially I remember a time and a place, the first 13 tournaments I played as a junior, I lost in the first round of every match. And the 14th tournament I played, I won. So
Nice.
how do you maintain your enthusiasm when you are having these drop in the first set against some of these players, or traveling all over the country, and the investment that's involved with
Sure.
what you're committing
Yeah.
to, right? It can be overwhelming, but ultimately I want to close the chapter on Kent Denver tennis, and want to go through some fun questions with you, because
Sure.
with the history there and the ties to Colorado tennis, I'm curious what goes through the mind of Nate Gold. So in their prime, Nate Gold Sr., Corey Ross Sr., who wins that tennis match?
That's a tough question. I'm very good friends with Corey. Yeah, and there's obviously Casey Ross is also in the mix there. Casey was a phenomenal player, played at Dartmouth. The Rosses are very historic family at Kent. Randy being the most winningest coach in Kent history, and winning all those state championships. I'd like to say I could take Corey down. I'm not sure. Corey played at LSU, very good player. He played at Baylor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see that one though. It'd be a good match.
100%. And lastly, listen, Kent Denver being 4A, I've always pondered what it would be like in Colorado tennis if they combined the classifications and just had one tournament and have you go toe to toe with the best players in the state. Are you still winning 3 state championships at 4A or 5A?
So, I mean, during the season, we did scrimmage a lot of the 5A schools. So we scrimmaged Creek and Regis. And I mean, Creek and Regis are and Valor are normally the 3 best 5As. And I played Christian. I played Connor Kazmarzik my freshman year. That was one of my hardest matches in my career. He's playing at Trinity in Texas. He's playing D3 right now. So I played him freshman year. Yeah, I mean, I would have won. I didn't stayed undefeated if we were in 5A, because we did scrimmage most of the 5A teams. And I mean, as a team, personally, I think it would have been a lot more difficult for us to win at the 5A level. There were some really good teams. But yeah, there were some good players. It would have been a little bit different, but yeah, it would have been interesting. Kent has honestly, I think they're good enough to be a 5A tennis school, and we've definitely shown that by dominating 4A for so many years. And yeah, I would have enjoyed to see that.
I love the response, because ultimately any competitive tennis player I've been able to have on the podcast would answer it the same way. They're going to give themselves a chance, because if you say you don't have a chance, you've lost before the match even takes place, right?
For sure. Exactly.
So ultimately, I give you props for that. Do you think there's ever going to be a statue of Nathan Gold at Kent Denver?
I don't know.
Nine News is going to show up and give you a bling necklace for athlete of the year freshman year. I mean, there's got to be something, right?
Yeah, we've definitely had a great last 4 years as a team together, and I hope we can leave a legacy there.
Yeah.
It's really been an awesome experience.
A lot of times people see the success and they are like, this guy just knows how to win. And they think that they can go out on the practice court and create the same results that you have. But a lot of people between you and I don't know what happens behind the scenes, what happens when no one's watching. Shed light on what is the most misunderstood part of this process that you've been through becoming the player that you are, that has been the hardest for you and that you wish people would understand a little bit better?
Yeah, that's a great question. Balancing school and tennis was definitely a struggle for me. My freshman and sophomore years, and sort of a lot of sacrifices behind the scenes that people don't see, and missing out on some things socially at Kent were tough. And one of the biggest things for me was probably making that step to go to online school my junior year and stepping away from all of my friends at Kent and making this massive sacrifice of going to online school and changing my whole routines. This was definitely a big step for me, and it obviously in hindsight was the correct decision.
Yeah.
But that was tough. I started to go to the gym every day, and I was logging a lot more hours on court. And I really did see a jump in my game. Those like 8-9 months that I didn't go to school and was doing the online school was super helpful. And a lot of people don't realize how tough it is to bring that mentality week in and week out, whether it's on the practice court or at a tournament. Tennis, it's a solo sport, so you've constantly got to be ready.
Yep.
And you got to bring it every day, regardless of what's going on in your life. You just got to, just bring it.
It's a wild sport because there's nowhere to hide.
Exactly.
I remember so many matches that I played, Nathan, where you make a mistake or someone's ripping a clean winner by you, and I'm looking around being like, who's going to get me out of this situation? And ultimately I have to look inside myself and be like, man, am I built to do this? Am I able to do this? And you bring up some interesting points, the gym, the logging the hours on the court, probably the nutrition side. I've seen you physically evolve over the years, and outside of forehands and backhands, can you kind of speak to how important those facets are to your game?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the 12s and 14s, I wasn't the most physical kid, but as I got into the 16s and 18s, things began to get a lot more physical. And that's when I really started to focus on my diet and my nutrition. And I started going to the gym 5-6 days a week with my trainer and my coach, and really taking that element really seriously. And the diet thing, I mean, all the pros these days are in very good shape, and it's getting, I mean, at the college level, it's just unbelievably physical. And I knew that if I wanted to get to that Division I level, I knew I had to make a change. And, you saw me when I was younger. I definitely wasn't the skinniest person, so I've come a long way physically and gotten a lot stronger over the years. That's been a big jump that I've made. That's really helped me get to where I am today. And so that's definitely been a big element. The diet, for sure. Try to eat a lot of animal-based foods and a lot of protein, and going on runs every single day, just doing a lot of behind the scenes work with my coaches just to get ready for some of the bigger tournaments.
Let's just say, I mean, when you were a kid, I deeply resonate with some of the decisions you're making with your diet. You were not the only one crushing torta sandwiches, man. I was definitely into that. And I mean, I maxed out my senior year of high school, Nathan. I was 5'10", 325 pounds.
Wow.
So I took a gap year after I graduated from Ponderosa and went to Litchfield Park, Arizona. Went to the Wigwam Tennis Academy, had 2 coaches from Poland, and 1,300 calories a day, 6 hours a day. I'm on court. Couldn't afford staying on the resort. I stayed in an old abandoned women's shelter just to try to afford it. And ultimately, that's where I made my change. So the physical component, and I see this tying into possibly how you were recruited. You're saying a lot of things that really resonate with me. I mean, student athlete, obviously Ivy League with what's coming up. You got to have your grades. You got to have that in alignment. The fitness side, you got to have that because college tennis is more physical than ever. When I finally got to college, man, I played 4 Americans in 4 years. Everyone else was international, coming from third world countries, basically leaving everything that they know because they have this dream of being able to play tennis in the United States. So thinking about what you're preparing for and knowing that there are guys out there that more often than not are grinding just as hard as you and I did, or maybe even more. Is that something that excites you, or is that something that intimidates you?
It definitely intimidates me. The academy route was definitely something I was considering when I was younger and going to a big academy like IMG or some of the smaller academies throughout Florida or California. But actually, Peter was the one who taught me this. It's less about how many hours you are on the court and more about making the most of the hours that you are on the court and training to that highest intensity possible. And I've been to many academies around the country, and it's great that kids are playing 6-7 hours a day, but those 6-7 hours aren't at the highest level of intensity. Because those kids are out there for 6 or 7 hours, some of those hours might be 50-60% intensity. Rather, when I'm on the court for 1 or 2 hours a day, I'm really maximizing those hours, and I'm really juicing myself, and I'm going for every single ball. I'm giving 100% for those 2 hours. My coach and I, we're not looking at our phones. We're not taking breaks. We're grabbing water a few times, but it's definitely a different approach to the training and like versus the academy style. But I actually think it's the better way because you can show up and you can really maximize your focus for those 2 hours rather than be on court for like 6 to 7 hours. And sometimes you're not 100% focused, and sometimes there's all these variables on courts that you can't control, and yeah, it's just tough. But to conclude that, I would say in some ways I am intimidated, but other ways I know what I currently have structured for myself has been working, and it's a good way to train.
The NCAA's, the recruiting process, it is a much different story in 2025 than it was when I was entering it 20 years ago. We have roster limits. We have potentially new NCAA regulations that highly affect lower revenue generating sports like men's tennis. My program at the University of Northern Colorado was cut during COVID. When I came back to Colorado after I was training in Arizona, I wanted to play at CU. At the time, they were 21 in the country, and the next year, the program got cut. When you're thinking about the work that you've put in to do this and the UTR that you have and the schools that you were looking at, how hard is it to get recruited as an American Division I tennis player in 2025?
Obviously a great question, and the trajectory of this question changes significantly every year as NIL comes into play and we have more foreigners coming with the NIL that maybe we're considering going pro or now coming to play college tennis. That's becoming the new normal, actually. So every year with NIL, college tennis is getting obviously way better, and it's getting a lot more challenging for Americans to play Division I tennis. And like you said, with the roster caps, it makes it even harder. Some schools are only allowed 9 to 10 guys, and in the grand scheme of things, that's basically nothing if you think about it. So definitely getting super competitive, and I was super lucky that Silvio and Spencer gave me this opportunity to play at Cornell, and I'm really grateful for it. That's going to be an interesting 4 years playing Ivy League tennis.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
Being able to know that you're on the other side of recruiting, and if you put a lot of work to get to this point, are you to the point now where you can really enjoy the game of tennis? Do you feel like some of the pressure has been lifted, or do you feel like you're still finding ways to stress yourself out?
That's a good question. This is tough because there's always a bigger fish. So just when you think, when I committed to Cornell, it's definitely had a few weeks to enjoy that, a few months to let that sink in. And then there's always this new task, this new challenge that arises as a tennis player. And maybe if I have a great career at Cornell, maybe that could happen with pro tennis or working my way up in the lineup at Cornell. But there's always a new challenge that arises. And as a tennis player, it's hard to be content with yourself. But after I committed to Cornell, I'd say a little bit of the pressure has fallen off my shoulders, and knowing a plan for the next 4 years has definitely allowed me to relax a little bit. Not in the sense of like stopping or anything, but it's definitely just taken a little bit of pressure off my shoulders at some of the tournaments. And, you know, the expectation to perform and get recruited is no longer over my head, and I can play freely in a sense now, which has been really nice. And yeah.
Gotcha. Was able to have Jet Middleton on the podcast, currently finishing up his senior year at Boise State. Colorado guy, just like you. Didn't have older brother syndrome, but had older sister syndrome, and a very similar trajectory as you. And I believe that his UTR was pretty close to where you were at when he was a senior. It was really interesting because I got to be honest with him, and he got to be honest with me about Colorado tennis and some things that have been helpful for how we're developing junior players, some things that haven't been helpful. If you had the opportunity to sit at the USTA Colorado building with the board of directors and give them some advice based off of the highest UTR player in probably the last 5-6 years, giving them some advice on how we can help develop players, what would you say, man?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Maybe doing some more stuff with Team Colorado a few years back. I'm not sure if you're familiar. There was a Team Colorado training camp we had. Just having some events to get the junior players together and really provide more opportunities for players like me to, play with other local players. Maybe I was personally on Team Colorado and had a great experience on Team Colorado. Every Sunday we had a training session with some of the best coaches. It was like Micah and Coach Mike at Denver Tennis Park. There were some great coaches, and we would train for a few hours and work on mental toughness, do some weight training. And we did a trip to Steamboat. Stuff like that was awesome if they could bring that back. And that was awesome.
Gotcha. So your journey doesn't come without some moments, some true, sincere moments of adversity. And to help paint a picture, I know I was kind of poking fun about my senior year of high school and my weight. And I remember a time and a place where I had a much different experience as a Colorado tennis player. At the time, the state high school tennis tournament, 14 out of the 16 of them were Division I signees. Very, very competitive. And I was a 0-star recruit. I was probably like a 4 or 5 UTR if I had to compare it to today's terms. I just wasn't there, man. The BTB Project was a nickname that I got growing up, Big Teddy Bear. I took that acronym and tried to make it a positive by building this empire of what are you built to be? What are you built to become? And Built to Be Tennis and Fitness was the LLC started when I helping guys like Willie back in the day, right? So I took this moment of adversity in my life, and I tried to nurture it into a positive. So when you think of your life, man, and some of the lowest of lows or challenging times, what comes to mind and how were you able to overcome it?
Trying to travel every weekend and going to Kent was super tough. I was getting behind in school. And I mean, getting court time in Colorado has gotten a lot more difficult. At Denver Tennis Park, it's up to $50 an hour just for a court. So it's definitely tough. And just every day, just showing up for yourself and just to keep pushing through and just to keep going to those tournaments. When I was 12 or 14, like you said, I mean, I definitely wasn't winning like I was today. I was losing in a lot of first rounds and wasn't doing very well in the sectionals, but just to keep going and keep persevering. And if you're logging those hours in the court, then the results are just going to come. It's inevitable. And I'd say one of the toughest moments for me as a Colorado tennis player was just finding players to hit with and other players to uplift me. That's one of the things I'm most excited for at Cornell, is to be in an arena with guys who are 12, 13, 14 UTRs who I can look up to and train next to and inspire me. It'll be cool to have somebody and fellow teammates that I can look up to and train next to them and train with them. It'll be a cool change for me, and I'm excited to see how my game can develop, because I've never really been in an arena like that, and that's one of the challenges of being a Colorado tennis player. As you saw with Jet, he went to Advantage Tennis Academy for the majority of his high school career, and lots of kids think the only way to become a successful Colorado tennis player is to leave and go to an academy. But if you really make the most of it, and rather it's hitting with adults at the Denver Tennis Club, I used to do that a lot, even though they might not be 12 UTRs, maybe they're 7 or 8 UTRs. You can always be working on something, and if you're just giving your best effort, you can still improve.
You're onto something there, is that anytime you get an opportunity to be on the court, you're grateful for it. And if it's an hour, it's going to be an exhausted hour. If it's 2 hours, it's going to be an exhausted 2 hours. The way that we're training today, Nathan, is it's more important about the quality of the time rather than the quantity. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah. Like what I was saying about the academy training approach, just getting on the court for the appropriate amount of time and just giving that max amount of effort.
Well, as we're winding down of legacy, I gave you the pun of the potential statue at Kent, and maybe that's still something down the road, or at least Randy with his coaching background. But nonetheless, man, I know that it's kind of weird to think about being a teenage kid, but dude, you've checked a lot of boxes when it comes to your development, your success, what you've done here locally, and obviously on the national level. But if you want to take a few moments and think about how you want to be remembered as a Colorado tennis player, what comes to mind? What are you most proud of at this point?
Yeah, that's a good question. I want to be remembered as a Colorado tennis player that stayed in Colorado and really was able to just use the resources that I was dealt with to become the player that I am today. Not going for my whole high school career to Florida or to California, but just persevering and playing high altitude tennis where the point structure is so difficult and it's so hard to train here because the ball moves so fast. And it's a lot easier to train in Florida where you can have 100-ball rallies versus here at the 11, 12 UTR level. The points are usually 3 to 4 shots max.
Yep.
Finding ways to, improve my hand-eye coordination or just improve little things on the court that I can and just focus on what I can in Denver and translate that to sea-level tennis. And just, dealing with the weather and just the cards I was dealt and just persevering through that and playing high school tennis, just trying to just revive Colorado tennis. Like you said, a few years ago, we had, what was it? 14 out of the 16 guys were committed to Division I tennis. Now I'm one of the few Division I commits in the last 3 to 4 years. So I think Colorado tennis is unfortunately on the decline. So trying to hopefully revamp and get some better junior players and inspire some younger guys to play some national tournaments and to stick with it would be my goal, and how I could be remembered would be ideal.
I remember lastly a conversation I was able to have on the podcast with a young man by the name of Kellen D'Amico when I was able to
Sure.
grow up in Parker, this little dweeby kid that was 5 years younger than me, got me on the court and absolutely just rocked me all over the place. And come to find out a few years later, he's holding the trophy as a junior Wimbledon champion and
Yeah.
taking his talents to UT Austin and taking his talents to John Roddick Tennis Academy. I mean, he had an unbelievable story, but one thing he said, and I want to get your thoughts on this, was he said that being able to have that mountaintop moment, it made me wish that I could have taken the steps along the way a little bit more serious, because I'm not going to sit here and say that he had regrets overall about how his career ended up, but ultimately there were some times where maybe that hour session on court, he didn't maximize it. And maybe he decided to slack on his nutrition too many days in a row, or maybe that gym session, man, like he didn't push to max out his reps. Ultimately, when you think of your trajectory and your path, and again, the ability to give advice, how important is it to maximize the process?
One thing that's helped me is always seeing everything that I do in a competitive manner. And the coaches that I've worked with over the years have been really good at implementing that in my practices. And sometimes when you're just doing drills every day at practice or cross courts or these same things can get very repetitive and boring, but implementing those competitive games, those points, cross court points, serving points, it always creates that fire in my practices that really helps me get to that 100% intensity. And that's the same in the gym, whether it's working out with a friend or with a brother or with a trainer, just always having that competitive mindset and just carrying that competitive spirit, whether it's in a real match or on the training court. And yeah, just staying competitive, staying hungry. And one of the most important things too is traveling to the tournaments, because when you travel to tournaments and you're seeing better players and you're losing, it's going to inspire you to work harder and you're going to see what the highest level looks like. And when I was really young, tagging along to some of those higher level, I went to clay courts with my brother when I was only 8 years old. So I got to see what, the best players in the country looked like at clay court nationals level 1 tournaments. So seeing that at such a young age, was huge. So, I would say my biggest words of encouragement would be to watch pro tennis. I try to watch a lot of pro tennis and just try to stay hungry, stay as competitive as possible, even when there's nothing on the line. So just try and maybe put something on the line. Rather it's my coach and I the other day, we played our practice set for 100 push-ups, throwing a little something extra on the line to help you reach that 100% intensity.
So lastly, let's have some fun here. Crystal ball, 5-6 years from now, what should the Colorado tennis community expect of Nathan Gold?
That's a good one. At Cornell, I'm excited. This new training schedule for me is going to look a lot different, and I'm excited to see what I can accomplish there. And Sylvia and Spencer are really great coaches. I'm super excited to work with them, and play Ivy League tennis. Ivy League tennis has obviously gotten super competitive. I'd say it's one of the best conferences in the country. And I don't know, maybe you could see me in a few 25Ks, 15Ks, hopefully maybe a little bit of challenger tennis. I'm going to try my best and work as hard as I possibly can and see where it takes me. And excited.
I'll add to it, man. How about being in the running for the Hurt Award your senior year so you can get some proceeds for that pro life?
Yeah,
right?
that could be helpful. Yeah, everything's so expensive now. But yeah, I'd love to play pro tennis. I watch a lot of pro tennis myself and, I love to travel. So it could be fun. to give it a go. And Cornell actually hosts a 15K.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can hop in one of those and play a few more PTTs this summer and see where it takes me.
Unbelievable story. 3-time state champion, one of the highest UTRs out of Colorado on the boys' side. Unbelievable career, tremendous family. I'm proud of you, Nathan, and thank you so much for joining me today on the BTB Project.
Yeah, thanks, Kollman. I really appreciate it. This was awesome. And yeah, I look forward to talking again soon. Thank you, man.
Awesome.